to try the volume.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Leonard Billet, and I live here in Santa Monica, and 16 blocks from the beach, and it's a great place to live.
Okay. Very well. And if you can repeat a little bit when you start to say my answer, because people who hear can understand the theme of.
Okay,
so I understand.
repeat your question. Okay.
Yes, my question. Sorry.
Okay.
Do you live? Are you born in Los Angeles? And you have to tell. No, I'm
not born.
Born in Los Angeles, but I'm or without no. I'm not. I was not born in Los Angeles, but in.
Right.
Okay.
I'll try. You can correct me, you know.
Si,
if I'm not.
We can start and after we can cut. Okay. Are you born in Los Angeles?
I was not born in Los Angeles. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. And now I live in Santa Monica, California, 16 blocks from the beach. It's very far from the slums of New York, where I was born. And working family, my father was a textile worker, came to America in 1917, just during the First World War. And my mother died when I was 5, so I became kind of orphany, and since my father couldn't take care of me, I was living 4 or 5 years in an orphanage we call Casa de Orfani in New York. And at the age of 10, then I went to live with my father's sister, one of my father's sisters, in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. Also in those days, very poor area. Now it's becoming very trendy and expensive, but it was tenement housing, we called it. And then I lived with various people, and I went eventually during my teenage years to live with my sister of my mother and her husband. And they were communists, and so I was very influenced by their political views, and I became a Marxist student. At the age of 16, we all came to California, and I left home because it was not a good situation for me. And I got a job.
Why, if you want to tell us?
They had a very bad marriage. And I was in between the two of them. And I was closer to my aunt, my mother's sister, for a few years. And then when I got to be about 15, I looked at my uncle and I said, you know, he's a pretty nice guy. And so I wasn't always on her side. And this was very difficult for her. So the family situation was very, very tense, very not good.
And you were in the slums?
I was born in a very poor area, and we lived in one room, 5 people, my mother and father, and me and my 2 brothers. I was the baby. My brothers are much older than me, 13 years older, and also 9 years older. And so that's where I was born. It was during the Depression. And but my father was lucky. He did have a job most of the time, and he worked in a factory that was owned by my uncle, his brother, who was the first to come to America and start a little business from Poland, from on my father's side, from Russian Poland. On my mother's side, my mother was born here, but her mother and the family, they came from Austrian Poland. Before the First World War, there was no Poland. What's the next question?
In Los Angeles, what did you
Yeah,
find?
so I came to Los Angeles, 16. I got a job, and I found a little apartment in Hollywood. And I put myself into the high school, and I signed my report card with the landlady's signature, and I told them she was my aunt. And then I graduated 1 year. I was in high school, and then I applied to the University of California, UCLA, and so I started to go to UCLA. And I was 20. I met a beautiful young lady, and we got married. It was very early. I was still 20 years old, and she was also about the same age. And but we both went to school, and also we liked to travel. So we went to England and France, and then we went to the Eastern Bloc. We went to Poland, the Soviet Union, all through the Soviet Union on the Trans-Siberian Railway, to China, and we spent about more than 1 month in China in 1955, 1957, 55. And then went back through Russia, spent some time in Moscow, and then went to Czechoslovakia. And I had some stomach condition. So when they said, what would you like to see in Czechoslovakia? Because we were the guest of the youth organization. I said, I think I need to go to the hospital. So they made tests and took me to a resort, which was in Czech, Carlo, in German, Carlsbad. It was very beautiful, so I recovered, and I saw the country, etc. And then we came back to the United States, and I went back to college. I was in and out of the university, which we do more here. And then
You were communist?
I was Marxist youth group. I was the head of this group at the UCLA. And we studied Marx and all that materials, and also we were active in the political activities on the campus and off the campus, etc. But when I went to the Soviet bloc, I was invited by the Soviet Youth Federation. We're about 10 Americans. We went to the World Youth Festival in Warsaw, in Poland. And just coming from different parts of the country, and we didn't know each other before. But when we were there, the Russians and the Chinese invited a group of Americans to go to their country as their guest, youth kind of. And so since I knew China was further than the Soviet Union, and I would have to go through the Soviet Union to get there, I accepted Chinese invitation, so to get the most travel, of course. So then we went by train to Minsk, and then to Moscow, and then by train 10 days on the Trans-Siberian Railway to Beijing. And then we spent a month and a half traveling in China, which was very interesting at that time. It was before the Cultural Revolution, before the Great Leap Forward. There was still a lot of enthusiasm for the government in that period. Not so in Poland or Czechoslovakia or in Russia, when we met the people in Russia, and then we would say, okay, we meet you tomorrow. They never came back. And also was an eye-opener in Poland. Everybody was so friendly, long live America and all that. And in Czechoslovakia was interesting experience that our translator, she said to us one day, "Oh," she said, "you're so lucky you haven't had your revolution yet." So that was a good eye-opener. But, and then I came back to the university and I studied some classical economists, Adam Smith. I wrote my dissertation on Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations. And eventually I got out of, the Marxism. But eventually also I became a teacher, and I got my degrees at UCLA. And I taught political science, the classics. So I taught Plato and Aristotle and Machiavelli and Marx too, and other thinkers. And that was great. I love to teach.
And you love Machiavelli?
Machiavelli is really, really interesting. Mostly I asked my students to read the Discorsi. Usually everybody reads The Prince, okay, which is very worthwhile. But his greatest political work really is the Discourses. And we can talk about the theory of leadership, his dedication to liberty in the Discourses, and the role of fortuna, of luck in political life and in life, etc., the relationship between religion and the state. So many very important, very interesting questions from Machiavelli, very worthwhile reading, particularly for the students of politics, the Discourses.
And what's your opinion about actual crisis, international crisis? I mean, Europe is, a lot of people say, not a politic union, but only economic union. And so is really a damage for Europe. What do you think from here, from United States?
Well, just my perspective, I'm not an expert in those areas because I prefer the more theoretical, philosophic kind of issues, but I can see that it's a very difficult time for Europe, and I don't know how it's going to go. But this is after many years of the growth of the state, the growth of debt, okay? Not so much work, more very long vacations, much longer than in America, short work week, tremendous, much more bureaucracy, so you hire someone like in Italy and you can't fire them, or in France, etc., which makes very rigid for the economy. So this is a direction that some people in the States, they want to go in that direction. That's the way I see it. And I think this is a big issue now because we see that in Europe, it seems to me at least, that we're beginning to see the failure of the European approach to politics and economics. That is to say, the strong social democratic state with a lot of dependence of people on the government rules and subsidies.
We were talking about actual crisis. No? You have some more to say, or I start with another question?
No, I can say that at this time there are, in this country, in my opinion, one of the central issue, maybe the most central issue, is whether this country is to be more like Europe or more like itself, the traditional American emphasis on smaller government, on liberty, and or more like Europe. And to me, the way I see the two political parties today is that the Democratic Party essentially, and certainly this President Obama, their vision for America is to be more like Europe, okay?